And I was sitting here this morning, and I was thinking to myself, what am I gonna cover? And I usually get some type of inspiration somewhere along the day. And today it was a culmination of a couple days of conversations with different individuals who have made a lot of money in this industry, but have noticed a lot of changes. And it really brought to head a topic that has been heavy on my mind, that I've been passionate about over the last really year, as I've seen the changing dynamic in this industry, online, on the internet, et cetera, et cetera. So I want to start this conversation with I'm going to put this phone down and put it on speaker. I want to start it with a couple of very, very famous movie quotes. And some of you are going to laugh when you hear them, but you've probably seen the movie. If you haven't, you can see it on YouTube. And here's the quotes. Quote number 1, and I'll even try to do the accent. Only one thing counts in this life. Get them to sign on the line which is dotted. Always be closing. You can't play in a man's game? You can't close them? Then go home and tell your wife your troubles. I'm on them until they scream. I stop at nothing. If you've ever seen the movie Glengarry Glen Ross, then these lines, they're familiar to you. If you haven't seen it, then you should go to YouTube and you should punch in Glengarry Glen Ross and you should watch it, because it's a hilarious parody of how salespeople used to be taught and used to be motivated. And I had a great conversation with some of these close friends over the last couple of days, and it revolved around the fact that the landscape really has changed. For lack of a better word, for people's bullshit meters, they've gone up way higher than they even were a year ago, certainly higher than they were 5 years ago. They're at an all-time high. Why? Because there's just a lot more information that's readily accessible than there was a couple of years ago. And what that has created is their ability, and what I'm talking about here is the customer, their ability and propensity to complain and to refund is higher. Their demand for value is way higher. In this era that we're in now, this era that we've come into of social media, the old adage has dramatically changed. The old adage used to be this: if you create one angry customer, they could tell 100 of their friends. And that was bad enough, because those people could tell their friends. But now, it's one angry customer can tell 6,000 on average. And those who are thriving, and what I'm talking about is businesses, salespeople, marketers, those who are thriving are the ones that have the most transparent, the most helpful, and the most sincere disposition. If you have ever seen Gary Vaynerchuk, okay, and if you haven't ever seen Gary Vaynerchuk, then you should go to YouTube or Google him and watch his videos. He's one of the most sought after marketers in the world right now. He's one of the most outspoken. And Gary believes that our grandparents and the way that they do business is actually more suited to this new social media age. And what he's talking about is their principles, their customer service principles, their one-on-one personal principles, their relationship principles. So that leads me into the topic. Okay, the topic is sales or sleaze. Okay, what's the difference? Okay, why do most people cringe at the concept or the word sales? Okay, well, it's because they associate it with very specific things. They associate it with manipulation. They associate it with lying. They associate it with aggressive behavior. They associate it with relentless pressure. They associate it with lack of integrity. They associate it with tactics. Okay? We're all familiar with sales tactics. Okay? Old school dinosaurs and amateurs are the ones still using these tactics. The icky feeling that people get from these tactics comes from the intention that's actually behind them. Okay, if you've never read Dr. Wayne Dyer, he has a phenomenal description, explanation of intention and its power, the power of intention. Okay, intention is a very powerful thing. Its undercurrents are felt in any conversation. And what picks them up, what picks up the intention, is our subconscious. And coincidentally, the subconscious also controls all of the decision-making process. So if the intention of the sales person is off, it's very unlikely that they're going to be able to get to a certain plateau. They'll get to a certain level because they'll be able to close the people that are pushover, knockover sales, but they'll never be able to take it to the level where they could go if they better understood the power of intention. So the intention of the sleazy salesperson is this. Their intention is to make someone take an action that creates a result that benefits them personally, being the salesperson. Let me repeat that. The intention of the sleazy salesperson is somebody who their intention is to make someone take an action that creates a result that directly benefits them. Okay? What sales actually is, when done right, when done properly, when it's done by professionals, has a completely different definition. Okay? The definition, when done right, is to help as many people as possible remove their pain, but by providing the perfect solution to their problem. To help as many people as possible remove their pain by providing the perfect solution to their problem. It's a completely different definition, and it has a completely different intention. If you're a member of Pro, then you'll understand what I mean by that's why we created the Why Discovery course and the sales course inside of Pro U. So you could define your why or your intentions, which is not easy to do. That's why there's a course there. Okay? To define your why or your intentions and combine it with the highest level of skill sets when it comes to sales. And when you define them properly, they create an ultra successful person who feels empowered because they're providing the highest level of service. It's a completely different feeling. It's a completely different intention. Now, I wrote yesterday, I was thinking about this, and so I started writing on my whiteboard. And I know that you can't even see my whiteboard when I try to show you, but I'm going to do it anyway because it's my show. And I'm going to talk to you about my intention and my process when I'm dealing with sales. And folks, sales is not just about selling a product. It's about selling an idea. It's about selling yourself. I mean, I'm selling myself to my wife every day, you know, and you are too, whether you know it or not, as to why they should stay with you. You're selling to your kids, you know, why they should do certain things and act certain ways. You're always selling. Okay, it doesn't ever stop. So when you master how to do it from the right intention, from your why, and you remove the sleaze factor, It really is amazing how powerful you become and the type of following that you can create. So here's the whiteboard, okay? So I'm going to take you to the whiteboard. Hopefully nobody gets nauseous while I'm moving you. Let me see if I can line this up properly. Well, it'll have to do. So my intention is at the top. And here's my intention. I should grab the phone for those people who are on the phone. My intention is to assist those who are ready, and I underlined ready twice, those who are ready to become the best version of themselves. That's my intention. My intention is to not make somebody do something so that I can make some money. My intention is to assist those who are ready, the key being ready, to become the best version of themselves. And how I do that is through a series of steps. The steps are, first and foremost, listen. I listen to what their desires are, what their obstacles are. And I'm not just listening so I can figure out how to close them better. I'm listening because I actually care and because I want to make sure that I've got the right solution for them, or if I don't have the right solution for them. So, number one, I listen. Number two, I identify their desires. And I do that by asking questions and listening and double checking and verifying what they're saying. I identify their obstacles by doing the same things, going back and forth, making sure that I clearly understand what they're saying, digging a little deeper sometimes. And once I've actually identified their desires and identified their obstacles, I call upon my experience. You know, I've got a few years of experience now, and I present the best solution for them in my mind. And at that point, I set proper expectations. Okay? This is one of the biggest things that comes back and bites people, is they don't set proper expectations. So they're setting that person up to fail and ultimately turn around and point the finger and blame the salesperson. Okay? I set proper expectations as to what can be done, what's realistic, and what can't be done. Okay? I back everything up with social proof. You know, that could be, testimonials. That could be calling somebody else and bringing them into the conversation. That could be whatever. Only your creativity limits how you back it up with social proof. Then there's a call to action. Yes, I do ask them, based on everything that we've done here, can you see any reason not to move forward? Because I actually want to know if they can see any reason. If not, let's do something. Let's take some action. Okay? If they can tell me a reason why they shouldn't move forward, I identify the resistance. What's the problem? I go back up to calling upon my experience relevant to that resistance, that problem, and I go through it again. I present the best solution for them. I set proper expectations. I back it up with social proof, and I do another call to action. And I identify the resistance, if there is any. If there's not, we're getting started. If there is, we go back to square one again. And this is really the key part, is at some point, you have to be honest with yourself, and you've got to be honest with them. It might not be for them. And you've got to pull the plug. How do you pull the plug? Well, you don't have to be an ass about it. Okay, but you got to be realistic about it. How do you be realistic about it? You say, look, you tell them gently, I don't think this is the right fit for you right now. Explain why. Because you've got 2 cents and you're not willing to branch out or make any sacrifices to move yourself forward. So I just don't think you want it enough, and I just don't think it's the right timing for you, and I think that you might fail if you get started because you're not listening, you're not in the right place mentally. Explain why. And tell them that this is not about me attacking you, okay? It's about me making sure I'm not setting you up to fail. And rather than setting you up to fail, I'd rather save you the money so that I can maintain this relationship. And when you are ready, you'll come back to me. Why? Because you trust me. Because I didn't just try to bully you. Because I didn't just try to take your money because I felt like it. Because I was honest enough to tell you, look, this this doesn't seem like it's the right fit for you, but it may be the right fit for you down the line, or I may have something else for you in the near future. And if you can be honest with them, they'll respect that. And there's a good possibility they're going to come back and buy from you later. And if you do all those other things that I talked about, identifying desires and obstacles and presenting somebody with the best solution that if you feel 100% confident that that really is the best solution and your intentions are good, then that's how you set yourself up for long-term relationships. Okay? It's not about long-term customers. It's about long-term relationships. Long-term relationships oftentimes turn into long-term repeat customers. But people buy from people. They don't buy from brands or products. So they're going to continue to buy from you based on your intentions, your ethics, your relationship. And because, first and foremost, they just like you. That's why they're going to buy from you. The moment that you give them a reason not to like you, the relationship is over. And I want to tell you a very staggering statistic, okay? 80% of most people's sales come from repeat customers. Let me repeat that. 80%. A customer that you've had in the past is 7 times more likely to buy from you than a brand new person. Okay? Everybody is always trying to go get new customers. Everybody's trying to always bring somebody else in the funnel. Okay? But if you approach it with the right intention and you create real relationships, then you get to dramatically reduce your marketing budget. And when you find something that you feel like might be the right fit for that person, that you can honestly, back with your own credibility, there's a really good chance they're going to buy it from you based on the fact that you've established that relationship with them. That's the difference between sales and sleaze. Okay? And in the beginning, when you're just getting started, you don't want to do sales because everything that you've learned about it before is from the sleaze standpoint. And then you go out and you try to do that. You try to use tactics and they backfire and they blow up in your face and they make you feel uncomfortable. And then you quit and you never really gave yourself the opportunity to succeed because you never did it the right way. Okay? What I showed you tonight is the way that I do it. I create relationships. And I'll be honest with you, I have done the hardcore beat people over the head method. And it does work to a certain degree. Okay? But it only works up to a certain point. Because you only close the people that it was probably impossible not to close them anyway. We kind of call them knockdown sales. And the weak-minded and the people who buy stuff on emotion, who end up refunding because they wake up and they go, I don't even really know why I bought, because I put a Jedi mind trick tactic on them. And you don't set yourself up for long-term success. And that's really what my goal is for this year, for 2011, is to supply you with as many opportunities to provide the right fit to somebody and to provide the training to you to establish long-term relationships so you can build businesses, build your lists, build follow-up sales, get recommendations, get endorsements, become an expert in your field. So when somebody searches you out, all they find is other people saying good things about you. So that was the purpose of my call tonight. And it wasn't long. They rarely are. It was 23 minutes. But that's all I've got to say.